Welcome to Spotlight Sessions, where we shine a
What's
light
your
on
story?
incredible. What does accessibility mean to you?
What's your mission? Welcome all to accessiBe's Spotlight Sessions, where we shine a light on incredible individuals and organizations and the work that they do. I'm your host, Josh Basil. I'm a C4-5 quadriplegic, paralyzed below my shoulders, and a power wheelchair user. I'm a community relations manager at accessiBe and a passionate disability rights advocate and trial attorney focused on breaking down barriers to access and inclusion for people with disabilities. Today on accessiBe's Spotlight Sessions, we're joined by Dr. Janina Maschke, a psychologist and ADHD coach, and the founder and CEO of ADHD Empowerment LLC. Welcome, Dr. Janina.
Thank you so much for having me on your podcast today.
Well, I'm excited to have you on, and your journey and all that you do is incredible. So let's dive right into it. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and share your story?
Yeah, of course. So, as you already introduced me, I am Dr. Janina, a psychologist, ADHD coach, scientist as well, and now author. And I've been diagnosed with ADHD during my PhD because I was doing a lot of research with mainly adolescents who have ADHD, and I saw a lot of connections and a lot of overlap. So that's when I got my own diagnosis, and that really started my ADHD and my ADHD advocacy journey for me, because I really saw that, or I was struggling to find help for myself and finding treatment and choices besides ADHD medication. And it was really hard for me to just find other options from either physicians, psychologists, or psychiatrists who really knew about the topic of ADHD. So that really made me start this whole journey.
I feel like the more and more you dove deeper into it and learned about it, just probably so many moments where like this makes so much more sense with how I approach things or how I learn or how I process. That must have been just so nice to finally kind of go down that road and that better understand yourself, right?
Yeah, it was definitely a huge relief to finally get my diagnosis, because I always felt different in a way, or was really struggling in school, and it felt like I always had to work much harder, or certain things were just very, very difficult for me, while other things were or seemed very easy to me. So when I got my diagnosis, I feel like the whole picture came together and everything started to make sense. And as you said, then I saw or looked back into my life and saw these certain moments where I was like, oh, okay, that is ADHD.
And I was diagnosed when I was in second grade with ADHD, and I just knew throughout my entire schooling, I always had to rely on different tools in my tool bag on how to approach things differently. And so many of my classmates did things so much easier than me, or could focus so much more, or could do this and that. And it's just my educators and the different people in my life that helped me with those tools. I would approach it differently and I would get there. I just would take a different path sometimes than my other classmates, which is totally cool. It's the key is just getting there. And I would love for you to talk through a day in your life as an ADHD coach and psychologist, and also as an amazing content creator.
I feel like because I wear many hats, from like being a coach, psychologist, content creator, my days also look very different depending on the day, or they're filled with very different projects or tasks. So I obviously do a lot of one-on-one work with my patients, my clients. I also do group coaching where we meet once a week, and then also do body doubling sessions where we just all come together and work together on our own separate things. Then I also do some research on the topic of ADHD with George Washington University, and it's focused on ADHD in women, which is also very interesting. So I do that as well. Then, of course, creating content and engaging just with the community online, which I always love to do as well, just hearing other people's stories and seeing, even though we're kind of spread all over the world, we all go through very similar things and struggle with very similar things, but then also have a lot of the positive things that overlap, like our creativity or our drive to be an entrepreneur or do our own thing, like podcasts. Then I also now wrote a book, which will be released this year. So I also last year had a lot of writing to do and a lot of evenings where I was writing. So definitely a lot of things in in one day or in one week.
You're a busy bee, and you're gonna have a full year ahead of yourself, which I love. And I wish people knew a little bit more, or what do you wish people knew a little bit more or understood about ADHD?
I wish people would get away from the typical stereotype of ADHD so that it's not just about struggling to pay attention or that it means that you're super hyper, but it is a very complex neurodevelopmental disorder and that just impacts all different aspects of your life. So it can impact work, it can impact school, it can impact your relationships, your emotions, how you communicate, or just social interactions in general. So, yeah, I wish just people would get away from the stereotype, which I think is slowly happening due to all the amazing people out there who are kind of educating people and spreading the word.
Well, we're having the conversation today, and it's just we don't know what we don't know. And for all of our audience members today that get to learn from you and your brilliance, it's I think this is a great teaching moment. So thank you for having such a great voice. And can you talk a little bit more about kind of those main challenges faced by people with ADHD today?
So, the main challenges that are or a lot of ADHDers face, they struggle with executive functioning skills. So that means, or executive functioning skills are things like time management, task initiation, procrastination, working memory, being able to make a decision, being able to pay attention, um, understand time. And ADHDers really do struggle with these executive functioning skills, but they also then struggle with their emotions and their attention and motivation. So it really impacts all these different areas in their life.
What's one tool that you would give for those situations to how to maybe approach it a little differently?
You mean specifically for the executive functioning skills?
Yep.
I would first do a check-in with myself. So if you find yourself struggling with these skills, check in with yourself and figure out which one do I struggle with first, so you can tackle that first, because especially ADHDers want to kind of tackle everything at once, and that can then get very overwhelming. So first do a check-in, see what you really struggle with first, and then tackle that one first. And there were so many different tools also on the internet, on social media available that you can then try out and see if it works for you. And I always suggest that you try to incorporate some fun parts into your life, because a lot of times we, for example, don't want to brush our teeth because it's boring and mundane, or we don't want to answer emails because it's also boring. So try to combine it with something fun, and that can also make it easier.
Balance is good.
Mm-hmm.
Balance is good. And as a content creator, how do you ensure that your content is accessible and inclusive for everyone that is that you want to reach it?
Mm-hmm. So at least try and use very clear and concise language. I don't know if I always succeed, but I do give my best to do so. Then I also always consider different learning styles because everyone learns very differently. So I try to do a mix of videos. I do the posts and carousel posts where I include more information. Then also for people who want to dive deeper, I have blog posts available. So just providing very different types of resources depending on everyone's learning style. Then of course always using captions for videos. And then also I do try to ensure that there is a color contrast on my posts and my videos just for people who have some type of visual impairments or color blindness. And then for like the workshops, the webinars, or my coaching, group coachings that I give, I also provide different accessible documents. So I do either like paper documents, then also transcriptions from the session. So just really try to incorporate all different kinds, and then of course always also listening to the audience what they really need.
I love that. That's what you've done is provide options, and depending on where somebody is within their life journey, within their unique abilities, they've got options and ability to absorb it differently. It's great. You're doing great. And if you could give businesses like one piece of advice on making the online world more accessible, especially for those with ADHD, what would that be?
I think the first or most important one is just to listen to your audience, to hear what they need, because everyone is, of course, very different. But then in general, maybe really trying to simplify and provide clarity just in the interfaces, either if it's a website or if it's a blog post, and streamlining your designs as well. I think that could also be very helpful.
And for like a business, if you could create like the perfect workspace that's ADHD friendly, or the environment within an office, what features or elements would you create and include?
So firstly, I think it would be very important to create a space with minimal distractions that is can be very clutter free. Maybe there is a window, maybe there's also an option with no window. Then flexible seating so that you can sit, that you can stand, maybe also having different types of chairs available. Natural lighting, that could also be very helpful because a lot of ADHDers and then also individuals with autism spectrum disorder are very sensitive to the bright white lights. Then also having the options for different task management tools, being able to use different technologies and systems, and then also having kind of a box or a space available where people can pick up different colored pens if that's something that they need, or fidget toys, or maybe weighted pillows or blankets if they kind of feel very stressed and overwhelmed.
I think those are all great ideas and options and approaches for any business. And what's one misconception about people with ADHD that you'd love to debunk?
I would say that ADHDers, like the misconception is that ADHDers are maybe not capable or not intelligent, which is really far from the truth. It's a neurodevelopmental condition that can present its challenges and make things very challenging, but with the right support and treatment, ADHDers are really, really intelligent and can achieve amazing things. And I mean, you can also see that if you look around at all the entrepreneurs and scientists, so many of those have ADHD, and that really shows that they are very intelligent. Sometimes you just need the right treatment and the right support to kind of limit all the distractions to make sure that you have the ability to find the things that you really love and are good at. So that is one that I would really like to debunk.
And from a business standpoint, like we've seen time and time again studies showing that a diverse team of employees, if everybody looks the same, thinks the same, you're going to have a very bland and a very, kind of focused trajectory that is not going to be the one that's going to have that creativity to make that big leap, the big changes, to make pivot. And like having a neurodiverse member or members on your team, it brings a really important perspective to the table that can really be a game changer for businesses. So I'm a big believer. I love businesses that hire all abilities. And I'd love to end by asking you, what motto do you live by?
I would say that I try to make my life as fun as possible, because if there is no fun, then it has become very boring or mundane. So I always try to incorporate some aspects of fun into my life, and that could just be picking up a color pen instead of a black pen, or it could be listening to music while I do my accounting or bookkeeping. So just trying to have fun wherever I can.
I can get behind this. I like this. Dr. Janina, thank you so much for being a guest today on accessiBe's Spotlight Sessions. Love your insights, love your voice, and love all that you do again. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
And to all of our guests, thank you so much for staying to the end of accessiBe Spotlight Sessions. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and follow us at accessiBe_community. And as always, thank you so much for being on this journey with us and staying to the end. Bye, everyone. Bye, Dr. Janina.
Bye.